We see the number on the phone. We're like, just go ahead and get it. Hello? Yeah. When people start like that, they already know.
Yeah.
So we call that day, even today in 2014, we call it Black Friday, because I literally just slid down in my chair after the things that she had said about this particular gentleman.
Were they good things?
No.
No. They were honest things though. And I was like, It was like, she was just like, I wonder how much he heard. And the sickness. And apparently he did, but it was muffled, so he didn't hear everything. So the blood. But he said, I heard y'all talking. He said, I couldn't hear what y'all saying, but I heard y'all talking. I was like,
bless the Lord. Oh, my soul.
Thank you, Lord. Because it would have been bad when we came back together. But that shame, the factor of not knowing who knows, or knowing that everybody knows. Pictures leaked, that's shame. What else is shame?
Like that situation I've experienced before. When you call somebody to kind of talk about somebody, but the person being sneaky and has the person on three-way and told them to mute the phone.
And they got the woman.
Right.
Jesus.
So you sitting here going on the person like you don't have to see them again.
And they're like, what?
And they taking notes. Like,
you talk about me?
Right.
You see that Monday morning. So, at X time, I believe you had said this.
And that's shame, and you can't even deny it.
You can't even deny
what I'm
it.
saying? Falling down in front of people.
That's not shameful to me. That's funny. I laugh it off.
That's shame.
I laugh it off.
I don't like embarrassment.
Right.
I don't like it.
Or like that dude that you saw on Facebook. He was running on the treadmill, fell off the treadmill, and then started doing push-ups because some girl was
looking at some girl's butt.
She
was walking by.
He was like,
and fell on the treadmill, rolled it a full roll.
I was like, that is a nice save.
Well, what about this? What about this? That's the stuff we kind of look at, at least we kind of shake off.
Coach was like,
but what about the stuff nobody knows about, but you still shame about?
Oh, yeah.
That he ricocheted.
Let's talk about that. There's some things
Put them out there,
that nobody knows about.
Like that,
or that we think nobody knows about. Because I'm under the strong impression that somebody always sees, somebody always hears, somebody always knows.
I feel like somebody is always watching.
Always tells. I am under the sneaking suspicion that somebody always finds out.
That's what I'm saying.
Somebody always hears, sees, knows, tells, always finds out. That creeps me out. So, do you hear what I'm saying? What about the stuff that you think nobody has seen, but you're still ashamed? Because shame comes with exposure. That's definitely a part of shame. But what happens when you think nobody knows? What do you do with that? What do you do with that?
You act like everything's normal.
Okay, let's just say my uncle raped me. My uncle raped me. And
I heard this thing on the radio. There's some Christian station I listen to in the morning. I can't even tell you what the channel is. But this woman had like the hardest life I'd ever heard of in the history of humanity.
You saw that? It was like, did she put up little signs and had you read it?
No, it wasn't a post. It was something I heard on the radio. I was waking up yesterday morning. And, what's it? Dynamic something. Like 6 o'clock in the morning on whatever channel that is.
I wasn't hearing that.
So what happened?
And she was like, when she was a baby, her mother and father would beat her like with frying pans and whatnot. Her father like held over a fire escape and like he was going to drop her. Did all this stuff, and so eventually the mother and father both got taken away. Child Protective Services put her with her grandmother and grandfather. The grandmother and grandfather was real good. Everything was great until she was about 8 years old. Until one of her uncles raped her at gunpoint.
Oh no!
And that went on until she was like 15. Then like another one of her aunts or cousins like started putting her on the street like to sell her for crack. Yeah. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I was in this in the morning. This is the first thing I'm hearing yesterday. I'm like, oh my God.
I know. It makes you one grateful for happens.
Is there happy day?
I mean, she's alive because she's telling you the story.
Right, but has she overcome, or is she still dealing with that?
I don't know. I couldn't get up that early this morning to hear like how it resolved.
I'd be in like intense therapy if I was her, but
that's real. You can have shame over that. Let's just say.
And she said she didn't leave. She said she didn't get out of that situation because she was afraid that if she got out of that situation, the next situation she was going to be worse. Because her aunts made her like take crack because if she didn't, they were gonna beat her up. So she had to take the crack, and when she got high on the crack, they had people they were selling her body while she was high.
God forgive him. Lord, that sounds ridiculous.
I'm like, why is your life so hard?
If Jesus doesn't deliver you, you have to relive that. You know what I mean? And we wouldn't know her story except she told it. So she feels a measure of freedom to be able to talk about that. But there are some things that happen. Let's just say my uncle raped me, and my uncle has not had the best uncles. Let's just say my uncle raped me, and he did it brutally, but he did it quietly so nobody could know. And if I said something, this is a real situation, by the way, for somebody. If I said something, then nobody would believe me anyway. If I said something, nobody would believe me about this particular uncle. Right? If I don't say something, it's bound to continue. What do I do?
Kill him.
You say something.
I say something.
I'm sorry.
But if they don't believe me,
That's what I was thinking.
if they don't believe me, I might kill myself.
Kill him.
I would tell somebody else.
You tell it, don't
Tell
you?
the teacher.
Telling people.
I would try to move.
Do you
That's
know
what
what?
happened
Do
to
you
the
know what
girls.
the
The teachers
emotions are
told me that,
for
yeah.
most young women?
It's your fault.
Normally, it's their fault. I mean, science studies show that at some point when a woman is raped, from many women, not all, but for many women, they feel some level of responsibility for allowing it. Maybe I was dressed too provocatively. Maybe I was, but there is a shameness associated with events that happen in our past that affect our future. Why am I saying this tonight? Because last week we talked about doing things now. One of the major hindrances for not doing things now is our past. It's our past and what we have been going through. And shame is one thing that will get you locked down. Shame will get you locked down. And unfortunately, not being able to perform for God is often because we've been stunted somewhere in the past. This right here won't even make you look up. David said this in a song. He said, my sins are so great, I can't even look up. I can't even look up. Have you ever felt that way? Like, I've done so much wrong, there's no need for me to even bother God again.
Lord.
Bother God again because I have blown it.
I was like, Lord, you know.
But I wouldn't,
That's all you can say. And
like, I wouldn't want to hear from me again.
Lord, you know what?
That's what I'm saying.
I used to be.
You know.
That's real talk. And when we can get to the point to admit it, other people can be delivered. And two, we can start dealing with our stuff. We have to get this stuff done. Here it is. Here's Galatians 5. I'll read it to you. If you want to go there, you can. Galatians 5. And Galatians 5 is based in the law. And the law always condemns. In fact, maybe I should go to. The law always condemned. This shame thing will kill you. If you carry shame into your marriage, it won't work unless you have a patient spouse. Here it is. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Shame will bind you up.
You say Galatians what?
Galatians 5. Galatians 5.
That's the first one she read.
Galatians 5, verse 1. That has been one of the main things that I'm finding, that people feel like they can't do for God and they can't answer his call. Adam said it. I'm naked. I'm ashamed. I had to hide myself. I'm naked. Before he and Eve sinned, the Bible says that they were naked and not ashamed. Before sin, they were naked and not ashamed. Sin brings with it shame. So if you live in sin and you really want to please the Lord, but you keep falling into sin, that shame will drag you deeper and deeper. But Christ has made us free. The law before Christ, the law was a schoolmaster. It was good. It had lots of rules and things that we could live to lift our standard of living, of morality. But when Jesus came and died on the cross, he says, listen, now I'm giving you grace. Now I'm giving you so many things that can set you free. And if you want to be free from shame, if you want to be free from bondage, because the law bound people up, it condemned the law. The law did not save anybody. The law did not save anybody. The law condemned everybody. Jesus came and saved those who wanted to be saved. And shame is broken. Somebody doesn't know this, but shame is broken when Jesus comes in. This shame is this is how the enemy does. He lets you suppress it and not express it. He lets you suppress the shame. And what happens is he builds other events on top of that shame to where you get to a point where you can't even pray. Ever been in sin so deep you can't even pray? You be like, shh. That's what I'm saying. That's shame. Or when you know you dirty, when you know you not. Somebody asks you to do something, you be like, nah, don't ask me. I'm not in a condition right now to be praying for nobody. I need prayer. You know what I'm saying? How can you pray for me? Because my situation is worse than yours. That's real talk. And shame makes you shed a lot of tears. I mean,
oh yeah, sleepless nights.
You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of homosexuals.
Oh, praise him.
A lot of homosexuality. Not all, but a lot of homosexuality is built on shame because somebody violated somebody.
Thank you.
Can I say this
Let's
story?
talk about it.
I was there's this thing on YouTube. It's called I Am Second. Have you heard of it? It's like where people tell their testimonies and how they're second because of second to God.
Wow.
So there was this guy and he was saying how when he was young, this person he didn't say who it was, but said this person told him to come to the garage and he raped him. And he was like that he didn't tell anyone because he said his dad would kill him or something if he had told his dad. So he basically feared, telling anyone. So this guy kept raping him and over again in the garage. And he said due to that situation, he started watching pornography when he got older. And he said one night his mother, who was a praying woman, his mother had caught him in the act of watching pornography.
Wow.
So he said that she went back to her room and started praying. And he said, I guess he went to the kitchen or something, but he said that when he walked down the hallway, he thought if I go right, I go to my room and forget this ever happened. He forgot the guy raped him ever happened,
Wow.
But or if he went left, he would go to his mom and talk about it. And
wow.
So he decided to go left and talk to his mom. Come to find out, his older brother had gotten raped by the same guy.
Wow.
And then his dad had gotten raped also.
What? By the same dude?
Guess what?
Not by the same dude, but it was awesome because it was once he...
That's a generational.
Right.
Generational
and he was
curse.
once he,
I'd be scared to
He exposed it. He turned the light on.
Right. And not even knowing that was a blessing for his brother and deliverance for his dad.
That puts shame on the devil once you confess it.
So it was
right.
just awesome.
That's incredible. And that's not so far-fetched. It's a lot of that going on.
It's like
That's right.
Catholic churches,
And it
you
didn't
have
start in
people...
it didn't
In the
start in this
Pentecostal
millennium.
church,
It didn't start in this millennium. This goes back. Some of this stuff goes back to the 60s and 50s when people didn't talk about anything, and they were getting away with literally murder and rape and incest and all kinds of things because nobody talked about it. The shame had people on lockdown, and some mothers knew that their children were getting raped and couldn't say anything. Some mothers were getting abused and beaten and couldn't say anything for fear of the police wouldn't do anything because it was accepted that you keep your woman in line. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So you have all these things going on connected to shame. Shame suppresses and it depresses people. That's why people turn to alcohol. That's why people turn to pornography and things like that. Everything is not because people just want to just go stupid. Sometimes people, there's a song that says that sometimes innocence is taken. It's not always lost. You know what I'm saying? we always lose it. Oh yeah, dumb night. Yeah, my God. No, sometimes it's taken
from you.
and when it's taken and it just spirals, it just downward spiral. But God wants to break that demon of shame, because if He doesn't break that, what happens is it becomes generational, and then
That's
you
right.
ignore the signs. You either do one or two extremes. If you think it's happening to your child or to your other family member, you're gonna do one or two extremes. You're either gonna retreat and withdraw and act like you don't see it, just like you did, or
Shoot
you're
that man in
gonna
the
or
face.
you're gonna go get a gun and you're gonna make sure it never happens again. And every frustration you had, you're gonna take it out on somebody.
Like that
That's
man
just-
in Texas who found out this dude raped his daughter.
Went up and shot
Or
that
attempted to
man.
rape his daughter. He killed him, and the judge let him go.
Straight up.
He beat him to death.
Straight up. You know what I'm saying?
I don't blame him.
And look, everybody's eyebrows up like, well,
So?
that's what you get. You know, murder is
rape
wrong.
somebody's
Rape is
daughter,
wrong, but so
you
is
get the
murder.
hands.
But, you know, you like, well, you know, just kind of, you know, and I'm not condoning any of that. But what I am saying is, Mother says understandable but not excusable. You know what I'm saying? I understand. I understand. As a mother, I understand. Because I constantly pray, you know, you see certain things and you hear certain things about people, and then when you see the people and they're around your children, or you see them and they're around, you know, my antenna go up naturally as a protector. But when you have experience, the thing about it is when things happen, you can't undo them. You know that, right? You can't undo them.
Oh yeah.
No matter how you try to forget, no matter how, you can't undo them. You experienced it. Whether it was something like betrayal or somebody robbing you or stealing from you. You never go back on this. You have to figure out what you're going to do with your past experience, because if you don't, what happens is it affects your future and you can't get past today. And everything you do today is tainted and is clouded by this. God is calling you to come on out here and do some things, but you're looking at it through a different lens because you've been wounded and hurt, or because you feel unworthy, or because you feel like a failure. All these things that we're talking about, you know, you feel the embarrassment, you feel, you know, all of these isolated things. You feel them and you say, he can't possibly be calling me to do great things for him. He can't possibly. What? Divorce runs through my family. I'm not getting married. That's not going to be me. But here's the person God has for you, walking side by side with you, and they're your best bud. And God's like, that's your husband or that's your wife. And you're like, no, because of what happened in the past. Or let's just say I had 2 abortions. I don't want to have any children. Because I feel like I need to punish myself for what I did. You know what I'm saying? I want you to see these are the things that you're gonna have to deal with. You're gonna approach people who are broken and fractured. And thing about God is He has a way of using broken vessels. Even though you might be broken and you might have some things going on, there is a beauty that comes from a pot that has been broken and put back together. There's a whole new something that's put together, and it's absolutely beautiful. And God is like, I can use that if you let me. Here it is, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good for those who love God and who are the called. Not just called.
No, you got to be
Who
the
are
called.
the called. That's us. You know what I mean? Not just one who, I'm calling you, yeah, whosoever will, let him come. He's talking about those people who are dedicated and devoted to Him. There are going to be some very bad things that happen to you in your life. And guess what? They may have already happened and you don't know what tomorrow holds. But God says, don't let shame or the things that happened that were embarrassing, whether people know about them or not, do not let them hinder you from what I called you to do. You never know, He might use that for a testimony.
Yeah, like, speaking of which, I guess, I stepped out just now because it was my Uncle Billy, and my uncle, this uncle knows that probably one of the people that I respect the most on this planet would be my Uncle Billy. And he called me, because that's my father's uncle, and he called me to ask me if I would go to the Christmas Eve dinner because he knows my father really needs to talk to me. And my Uncle Billy has not always been a fan of my father, so for him to say that,
That's big.
it's big. And when I saw the word shame, I immediately thought of my father, because I know that a lot of the things that he's done has been out of anger towards other people, and then he takes it out on me. That's just how my father has led his life. Like, I know that a lot of the ways that he reacted to things isn't necessarily his fault. Like, he learned to talk through his parents' divorce by delivering messages back and forth one parent to the other.
Wow.
That's how he learned to speak. So he doesn't look at father-child relationships as the best things on the planet. Now, for me, where I used to say to him all the time, if you went through something so horrible, why would you put me through that? If I was a dad or a parent, I wouldn't want my child to go through what you went through or what you put me through.
That's right.
So for my uncle to call me to tell me that my father really needs to talk to me, I think now he's at a point where he is feeling his own shame.
I hope so.
Where it's like, if I can see, like if I can look at you and see your shame, it's like, I think he's at a point now where he's feeling it. And even in a situation where I know I wasn't necessarily wrong in some parts because of how I handled it, I feel shame for parts of it. Because it's like, yeah, I don't necessarily like to be the bigger person all the time, but I could have been.
You should. Right. And let me tell you, you can, what the enemy means for harm, you can take that. Like he said, like her testimony, like the guy's testimony, he could have turned to his room and act like his mother never saw him, like he never got raped. He could have gone in his room and just closed the door and just wished it away and act like nothing ever happened when he came out. Or he could go to the left, go to his mom's room and start a conversation. In that conversation,